Well, hello, my jazzy friends. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and it's lovely to see you as always. In today's video, we are here with the second installment of our little lore and companion series for Dragon Age. I wanted to talk about one of the characters in the franchise that I think is honestly the most interesting, and that is Teryn Loghain. I'm sure, like many other people, I had very specific feelings about Loghain after playing through Dragon Age Origins, and I always killed him at the Landsmeet, never recruited him. But I ended up reading through the Dragon Age book series. I would highly recommend them if you haven't read them, and it completely changed my outlook on him as a person and his character. So here we are with the life and history of Loghain. I feel like when you talk about Loghain's life, it's really, really important to get the context of Ferelden and Orlais during that time. So forgive me for kind of throwing some of that into the mix as well, but I think it's really, really important for contextualizing his experiences. So Ferelden was invaded by Orlais in the year 824 Blessed by Emperor Reveal, or Revel, or Revele. Who knows? Deemed by many anyway as the Mad Emperor. The conquest was complete by the year 844, and Orlais ruled over Ferelden for 58 long years, denying many their rights and charging extortionate taxes to those living there. Brutal and overwhelming punishments were placed on those who dare defy the Orlesians in an attempt to crush any hope or idea of resistance. Running simultaneously to this period of time, Loghain was born. He came from humble beginnings. He and his family were commoners. They had land in Oswin in the western Bannorn, where they made a simple farm that they tended. This was threatened when the Orlesians hugely increased their taxes, and Loghain's mother and father resisted this change. As a result of this rebellious act, the Orlesians declared the farm forfeit and accused Loghain's father of tax evasion. They arrived there to intimidate the family and still attempt to collect their payment. During this, though, they murdered Loghain's mother. Loghain's father, Gareth, ended up murdering their commander, and so began Gareth, Loghain's father, and Loghain's life on the run. They banded together with others living in similar situations, and they began living as outlaws, where Loghain's father, Gareth, kind of ended up taking this kind of leadership position within the outlaw camp. Queen Moira, mother to Marek, was given the title the Rebel Queen, as she was determined to take back and defend Ferelden. When her rebel army was ambushed, Moira eventually was killed, leaving her young son Marek, the rightful heir, on the run. Marek was scooped up by the outlaws' camp, initially though they were completely unaware, just who he was, but he could not stay there long. The Orlesians were hunting him following his mother's assassination, and if he remained, he knew the rebel camp would be attacked. Loghain was tasked by his father with keeping Marek alive, so they left. Loghain impersonated Marek and fled to the north to draw one of the armies away. The rebels fought the southern army. Loghain and Marek were able to get to safety through the Korcari wilds. During their time there, they got taken prisoner by a Dalish clan who delivered Loghain and Marek to the Witch of the Wilds. At that time, the witch warned Marek of an upcoming blight in Ferelden, and also warned that Loghain would betray him if he keeps him close. Upon leaving the wilds, Marek and Loghain met up with the late Queen Moira's rebel soldiers. Amongst these soldiers was Rowan, Marek's betrothed. Marek, Loghain and Rowan became very close over a period of time that saw them camping, fighting, planning, and ensuring the rebel army grew from strength to strength. At this time, Loghain became Marek's closest friend and trusted military advisor. His strategies over time were responsible for the rebels' greatest victories. After this time, an elf named Catriel joined their group. She claimed to be a messenger and she warned that they would be attacked. Shortly after this period, Catriel and Marek started a relationship. Marek is madly in love with her, despite his relationship and prior arrangements with Rowan. However, Catriel is not a mere messenger. She was a spy for the Emperor of Orlais. She ended up giving the group false information about the attack of West Hill, which resulted in huge losses for the rebel army. Catriel may not be who she said she was, but she did end up having very real feelings for Marek. During a dangerous trek into the deep roads, Rowan talks to Loghain about how she's very aware of Marek and Catriel's relationship. She's upset about this, but she is more so conflicted because she really loves Loghain. This is reciprocated, the pair are in love, but anyway, both of these relationships ended up being quite short-lived. Loghain learned the truth about who Catriel really was and about her betrayal at West Hill. He revealed it to Marek. Marek confronted Catriel, who confessed, and then Marek killed her, a decision that he came to regret. There was, at this point, widespread support for Marek and the rebels, and their victory was getting closer. After Marek murdered Catriel, Loghain went to Rowan and convinced her to marry Marek, so that she could be his wife and the Queen of Ferelden. He expressed that the country needed her, and that Marek needed her too, to guide him and to guide Ferelden. Loghain sacrificed his love for unity and for the good of his country, even though he was completely crushed by this. The battle is won, Marek is king, and eventually, obviously over a little period of time, Ferelden becomes free. After all these events, Rowan and Marek got married, and at this point their relationship with Loghain became much more distant, for reasons that are probably clear and very intertwined with his feelings for the Queen. King Marek made Loghain a Teryn, an order that would elevate this commoner to nobility. Loghain eventually married as well, though it's entirely debatable whether this marriage was out of love at all. Loghain spent a great deal of time away from his wife called Celia. They also had a child called Honora. Rowan ended up dying from a long illness, and after a while, Marek died at sea. In the year 928, Celia died. With this, Caelan, Rowan and Marek's child, was crowned King of Ferelden. Loghain was also his military advisor. He was responsible for devising tactics, and he also took on this role for the Battle of Ostagar, in the very early stages of the game, Origins. During the Battle of Ostagar, when Loghain's men were due to flank, he ordered a retreat, which would leave Caelan and his men to die. During the rest of Origins, Loghain is the main antagonist, aside of the Darkspawn and the Archdemon, obviously. He declared the Grey Wardens traitors and also made himself regent for his daughter Honora, who's now the widow of King Caelan. He took some pretty drastic and questionable measures to secure Ferelden. In the Landsmeet, Arl Eamon and the player's warden confront Loghain. You have the choice to recruit him as a warden or execute him then and there. If he's executed, obviously it's a bish bash, it's a done job, he's gone. If he's recruited, he will make cameos in Inquisition and so on. But I really want to focus on his character arc from his time with Marek to the person that we know in Origins. So how do we get from the Loghain of the past to the Loghain featured in Origins, and why is his character so different? The more I dig into it, the more convinced I am that he didn't really change at all. His acts throughout his entire life were sacrificial. His greatest love is very evidently his country, Ferelden, and I think he thought that Caelan threatened that rather than supported it. When you play through Origins and you go and meet Caelan at Ostagar with Duncan, I think it's very clear that Caelan finds strategy very boring. He was far more enamoured by stories of great wars and battles and acts of heroism, and kind of the idea of being remembered rather than planning how to do so. During Loghain's time with Marek, he sacrificed part of an army just to keep Marek safe, and at that time Marek made him promise never again to put the life of the king above the lives of the people of the country. I think it's entirely possible that if this promise stuck with Loghain, it's possible in that moment when the beacon was lit, he remembered that promise. And maybe he decided that Caelan's refusal to pay attention to strategy and see situations for what they really were would end up in him and his men dying too. Maybe he genuinely felt like their flank would not save the battle. Maybe he was conflicted with that choice. Would he break that promise again and sacrifice people to save the king one more time, or would he keep his promise to Marek? Also, during the battle, the tower is already overrun with Darkspawn. The beacon ends up being lit later than planned, so by this point the battle could already have been very clearly lost. Again, this is indicative of Loghain's mindset that nothing is more important to him than Ferelden. Not his love with Rowan, and not the life of her child now. His methods are definitely questionable, and obviously the way you hear that story during Origins, because of the life that you're leading and the story that you're playing, you feel emotionally horrified by his actions, and you feel sympathetic, and you feel for Alistair, and you obviously have specific opinions towards him because of the way the story kind of plays out to your character's perspective. But my opinions now are definitely different than when I first played Origins. But you tell me what you think. Is Loghain the villain or not? I would love to hear how you feel about him now. But thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.